People keep asking why Islam is rising so fast across the world, and King Charles himself said the answer is bigger than politics. And man, when I heard that, I just sat there for a second like, wait, what does that even mean? Bigger than politics? Coming from a guy who's literally been around prime ministers, presidents, kings, scholars, religious leaders his whole life, when he says something's bigger than politics, you know he's talking about something deep, something that hits you on that level underneath all the noise. And the wildest part is that he's not saying it like some kind of hot take. He's been fascinated by Islamic culture for decades. People forget that. The guy studied Islamic history, architecture, spirituality. He's talked publicly about discipline, unity, and this moral scaffolding that Islam has. So when he makes those comments, he's not just observing a trend, he's pointing at something that's been building for a long, long time. But man, look around. The rise is real. I get messages all the time from people in the West converting, young dudes, women, athletes, musicians, people who look like they'd be the last ones to dive into anything religious. And they're like, Joe, I don't know what happened. I just felt like something clicked. You hear that enough times and you start going, okay, this isn't random. This isn't some wave of hype. This is something happening at the level of meaning, at the level where people decide what their life is even for. And I think that's what King Charles was talking about, because he's seen the West from the top down. He's seen how chaotic it can look behind closed doors. The politics, the culture wars, the endless pressure to come up with something new and exciting every 5 minutes. It's like the whole society is running on caffeine, stress, and algorithms. And then you look at Islam, and it's like this anchor in the storm. 5 prayers a day. Just stop everything and reconnect. A direction to pray toward, a community wherever you go, a moral code that isn't being rewritten every 6 months based on trending hashtags. And honestly, when you look at it from the outside, you kind of get why young people, especially in the West, are turning towards something steady, something ancient, something that doesn't feel like it's drifting all the time. You can feel it in the way they talk about it. They're not converting because someone scared them or pressured them. They're converting because the world feels like quicksand and Islam feels like bedrock. And King Charles, man, when he talks about Islamic culture, you can hear that respect. He's not talking about geopolitics. He's talking about structure, about inner discipline, about civilizations that built libraries when Europe was in the dark. He's talking about a worldview where you're accountable for yourself every single day, where gratitude isn't a self-help trend, but literally part of your daily ritual. I think what really shocks me is the unity. You can go anywhere, London, Jakarta, Detroit, Cape Town, Kuala Lumpur, and when it's time to pray, you see the same motions, the same words, the same direction, the same intention. That's insane. Nothing else on earth functions like that. In a time when the world feels fractured, you've got over 1 billion people doing the same acts of worship with the same precision, like some kind of global heartbeat. Tell me that's not going to attract people who feel lost. And then there's the science part. Every time I talk to someone who's researched the historical development of Islamic civilization, they're like, Joe, you gotta understand, these people were calculating planetary motion while Europe was figuring out indoor plumbing. Astronomy, medicine, optics, algebra, whole fields came out of these giant hubs of learning. And the craziest thing is that the Quran basically pushes you to think, to look for patterns, to reflect. So when modern people go back and read that stuff, especially when they're used to spiritual ideas being vague or poetic, they get stunned. There's this directness, this clarity, this sense of here is what life is and here is what you're supposed to do. And I think that clarity is what's missing in the West. Honestly, we're drowning in options. Every app is telling you to reinvent yourself. Every trend is telling you you're not enough unless you buy more or hustle more or build some identity that changes every 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, people are exhausted. They're spiritually starving. They're looking for something that doesn't shift with public opinion. So I get why King Charles said what he said. He wasn't talking about some political rise. He wasn't talking about immigration or numbers. He was talking about people waking up to something deeper. Something that answers questions we don't even know how to articulate anymore. Questions like, what does it mean to live well? What does it mean to be disciplined? What does it mean to be accountable? What does it mean to see yourself as part of something bigger? And there's this moment, I swear it still blows my mind, when you realize that Muslims pray at the exact same times every single day because those times are based on the movement of the sun. It's cosmic, it's mathematical, it's synchronized with the physical universe. How do you not stop and go, wait, that's intense? Imagine millions of people pausing their entire life because the earth rotated a certain way. There's something poetic about that, something profound, something that makes the modern world feel hollow by comparison. When King Charles talks about the discipline of fasting during Ramadan, you can tell he's genuinely impressed. And it's impressive. We're out here struggling to skip breakfast, and these people go sunrise to sunset every day for a month. And they don't complain, they actually celebrate it. They say it purifies them, it resets them, it teaches self-control. And in a world where we've lost all sense of restraint, that's powerful. And the unity, Jesus, the unity, the way Muslims stand shoulder to shoulder in prayer. No VIP rows, no social hierarchy, no status symbols, king, janitor, actor, cab driver, same line, same posture, same words, same surrender. You can't look at that and not feel something. You can't look at that and not think, man, maybe we're missing something. I think what really gets Western leaders, even if they don't say it out loud, is that Islam offers a complete system. Not just beliefs, not just rituals. A whole blueprint for living, family, finance, ethics, personal growth, social responsibility. Everything's connected. Everything fits together. And in the West, things are fragmenting. People are making up their own codes, their own rules, their own identities, and it gets overwhelming. It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint. So when King Charles says the rise of Islam is bigger than politics, I think he means it's existential. People aren't looking for new laws or new leaders. They're looking for meaning. They're looking for belonging. They're looking for something that feels ancient and unshakable, something that doesn't apologize for being disciplined, for being structured, for being morally grounded. And honestly, I'm not surprised anymore. Shocked, yeah. Curious, definitely, but not surprised. Because when you strip away the headlines and the stereotypes and all the noise, you are left with something that's been drawing people in for 1,400 years. Something that survived empires. Something that built civilizations. Something that doesn't bend for culture, but shapes it. And maybe that's what we're seeing now. Not a trend, not a spike, not a wave, but people finally realizing that the modern world can give you comfort, but Islam can give you direction. And direction, man, in times like these, that means everything.